Okay, I'm back.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes. Let me interject. I still haven't, I've answered about 40 questions.
I'll be happy. I've told you, but I'll tell you again. Sherry.
You don't know how Sherry got down there. She just all of a sudden heard it through the grapevine somehow.
No.
And decided to scoot down there and help get Granddad, tell her how bad Grandpa was.
No, she didn't say a thing about Grandpa.
What was she doing down there? How'd she get down there? How'd she find out that Noah was even down there?
I will tell you if you will be quiet. Here these people are coming in the night and this and that, and so I've got to, if I want to keep my kid out of the clutches of that kind of environment that you think is just fine, but I don't want my kids having all these fights and quarrels and divorces and drunkenness. I don't want that to happen. But anyway, so I have to put on proof that they're having a very bad effect, and I have lots of letters from Millsaps. I have letters from people that have...
I'm talking about Sherry Johnson being in Natchez, Mississippi.
Okay.
Let's cut to the quick.
All right, so Isaiah had lived there, and Micah had lived there for a short while. And so she had firsthand knowledge, or I called to find out what could she testify to as far as alcoholism or underage drinking or speeding tickets, or was his license revoked in Virginia?
No, his license was not. Let's get on to the business of
Well, it was in Mississippi. Did you know that?
Yes, I do know that, but I'm not talking about that. I want my question answered.
So I called Sherry and I asked her, and she flew at her own expense. Nobody, there was no anything except that she knew, and she doesn't want her kids to end up fighting and screaming.
She doesn't, does she?
Well, I don't know. I don't know the woman.
Well, you don't know, do you? You don't know that she's a liar and a thief and that she's under investigation by the Commonwealth's attorney. And you don't know these things, do you?
Well, I heard this.
Let me ask you, no.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm not finished. I've been answering questions. This is the same person that calls me and says, Craig, did you give him a credit card? Craig, did you do this for these boys? And then behind our backs, and then you're telling me that you called Sherry Johnson, you didn't call me, and you got her down there to tell her what a horrible son of a bitch I was, my father. Are we on the same wavelength? That you're pissed off at me because I gave someone a credit card to give someone a room how can I do it behind your back? This was a question I asked the last time you called. No, I actually called.
I didn't say behind.
How could I call you and find out about giving a boy a room? Was I supposed to, did you have a cell phone? Was I supposed to know what motel you would be at? How would I do that? I wouldn't. But on the other end of the coin, I answer my phone here. Sherry Johnson doesn't answer hers because there's mostly credit people. She puts it on a machine, and she never returns calls. But you're telling me that you're mad about me for that, giving someone a room and not letting you know about it.
No.
Which I can't do because you don't have a cell phone, I hope not.
I have 3 cell phones, thank you.
I would not have the number of it, and I would not, if you were in Natchez, Mississippi, or someplace in between, I would have no way of getting hold of you. But you had my wife come down to Natchez, Mississippi without my knowing about it, without discussing that with me at all, and you knew damn well, since I work 12 hours a day, how to contact me at my store. You've got that number. If it's after 7 o'clock at night, you know how to get hold of me at my house, and I was never notified of this, so I don't quite follow all of this, Vic.
Well, you were the person...
It's disturbing to me.
Well, you...
Besides that, the last time before I'd called you that night, and the only thing I asked, I said, hey, I hear you're going into the bed and breakfast business. And then I started getting railed against for about an hour and couldn't put a word in edgewise. I don't understand it. It's just foreign to me. And then when I hear someone like Grandma and Grandpa say, well, Vic called, and she just talked like she was normal again, and we talked, and then the next time she called, she just started railing again.
You know what happened to Grandma?
Talking about a pattern, that's all I ever hear. But if someone doesn't ever listen to me or answer my questions, and then I'm a great person one time, and then I talk to them 2 years later, and I'm the worst son of a bitch that ever walked the face of the earth, and an alcoholic, probably classified as a drug addict, and woman abuser and everything else now, it kind of is upsetting to me, you know.
I called and said I wanted to know which of these things that I'd heard had you really done. Had you really given a credit card and said, go get Micah? Had
yes,
you really?
I did. I told him he could use it. I didn't. He'd asked Grandpa too, so I didn't know which one was used on it. Yes, but if someone calls me and says, my brother doesn't now have a room, and the story they give me is he's pitched out in the cold, and they say, well, go, here's a quarter, call your brother Isaiah. Uncle Craig, can we get him a motel room? I say yes. I would do it to about anybody.
Right.
That's right.
And whether or not they went to pick up people out of people's homes, you do that.
No, they weren't picking people out of anyone's homes. They were in Natchez, Mississippi.
No, I'm talking about Micah.
Contact Victoria Hoggett or any other Hoggett. It's the only one I had contact with because he had called Doe Run, explained what his situation, and needed a place to stay.
So who got Donna lined up? Was that Isaiah or Gramps?
I have no earthly idea. Don't really care.
I know you don't.
I really don't. Why should I? Why should I? What good would it do if I did know? What difference would it make? It would make no difference. But let's go back to something else here. You lived in Grit. No matter how horrible Grandpa was, you lived there all your life. I lived there all my life. Ted lived there all his adolescent years growing up till he went to college. And we never left. And I do not think, I think the boys are wonderful boys. They're very polite. They don't mind working. They're not very mechanically inclined. I don't think they've worked a whole hell of a lot. But I think they're basically very good boys. But I don't think that
How'd they get that way?
I don't think that Grandpa got your kids away from your house. I don't think it was his intent to get his kids away. I think there's problems that were at your house that caused that, and it wasn't outside Grandpa calling once every 6 months and, hey, I think y'all just come on down here and I'll send you any college you want to and buy you fancy cars and clothes. I don't think that's the case because that's not the way Grandpa operates.
No, he's a real swell guy. And my kids, I want to thank you, Craig. I think that it's wonderful. I think they've taken a turn toward honesty and sobriety, and I want to thank you. Now, would you believe that?
I think that they are about as honest and sober as they ever have been or ever would be.
Oh, you do?
I don't think you can control kids. I don't think you'd say, hey, I'm going to leave you on the Jehovah's Witness compound, and that'll turn your life around as long as you stay here. You can't do that with children.
They weren't on the Jehovah's Witness.
They're under the best raising of very good, responsible adults, parents, that they are not going to turn out good. But I don't think your boys are horrible, sinful boys. I do not believe
No,
that.
I don't either.
They are good boys.
I think
they make fairly decent grades.
Oh, they do.
Some make better than the other ones, which is about the way the world works. But I don't think.
How do you know that?
Huh?
I got letters from Millsap saying he had a.
Mail from Millsap. I get I get Grandpa's mail and I get some of their mail because their grades are sent to Grandpa, and I get Grandpa's mail. That's how I know it.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. I heard talking about, Sherry being such a rat. I was told that...
Well, why don't you come down here? You don't have to be told anything. Why don't you call the Commonwealth's attorney and ask her if she's under investigation? Right there, you'd have to say, something's a little bit amiss with this woman. Something's a little bit amiss here. She must have done something a little bit that is punishable by prison.
I heard that she attempted to murder you.
Yes, she did.
Tell me about that.
Huh?
That's kind of a strong charge, wouldn't you say? Attempted murder?
I took it down there. They took 7 vials of blood out of me. You're damn right. It's a very serious charge.
When did they take 7 vials of blood out of you?
I'm going to say about 2 years ago. This crap is hard to keep up with anymore, Vic.
But right then, you just said, all of a sudden, you said, I know I've been poisoned, or what?
Yes.
You called up the police and said, I think I've been poisoned.
No, I didn't tell them I thought I had. I told them I had.
Well, so how did that come?
I didn't say I think I had. I told them I had. There's a difference between thinking you have and knowing you have.
How did...
Well, you think, I don't feel too good. I may have been poisoned. But if you find a cup on your counter and the bottom has fallen out of it from whatever chemical's been poured into it, then you don't say, I think maybe I've been poisoned. You don't say that then.
What did the police find out?
Oh, about the same thing as all the Danville. I've been broken into before I put in 2 alarm systems. Actually 3. I've broken 4 or 5 times. They don't do much anything.
Did they not detect the poison?
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. And they lost the cup, too, that I took them. They lost the cup, which I thought was very unusual.
Hey, Craig.
They sent it to Roanoke first. They sent it to Roanoke, and I waited for months and months and months. And I said, what's the deal, detective? Well, they decided to send it on to Richmond. So I don't know what happened. Thank you, guys.
You know, I couldn't tell your voice from Gramps'. I couldn't tell.
A lot of people say that. A lot of people, when I answer the phone down there, they say, Warren, what's going on? Because I sound a lot like him, I guess.
And now my boys, but it isn't just the voice inflection.
That's a sin too, though, right?
No, it's, you know, Craig, there's nothing wrong with a person thinking that the Bible's true. There's nothing wrong with thinking there is such a thing as sin. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with that at all, because there is such a thing as sin.
Okay.
So you don't need to quote Bible scriptures. I know about.
No, I'm not going to quote Bible scriptures, but there's nothing wrong with parents being just, you know, sort of old-fashioned, dull, moral. See, we haven't had any. We've never filed.
I hate dull people.
Yeah. Well, we're dull by those standards. We've never filed a law.
People that are dull don't go to France, and Isaiah said that you've gone to Europe and all different kinds of countries. That's kind of, if you talk to 100 people off the street, maybe one other person would have done some of these things. So I don't say that you're just completely dull, you know. You take vacations and you do things that most people don't do.
Yeah,
you're
we did.
in a higher income bracket, or should be, than most people your age, so you shouldn't be leading a dull life.
Well, when I say dull,
your dull life.
No, I'm not complaining. We like peace. I'm just saying I didn't want my kids in an environment where it was thought perfectly fine to say, I'm going to see that bitch die under the jail. And how exactly was...
That is bullshit, too. That's something else that when we went to court, Grandpa was there, he said, I want to get one thing cleared up. I've been accused of saying this, and that is pure D bullshit, which is something, he said, that you wrote in a letter to him. And again, this is a quote from Sherry, so
no.
You don't talk to Sherry, but somehow this gets back to him, these 10-page letters.
Do you know who told me that, Craig?
No, who told you that? Sherry told you that, right? Must have been. Yeah, who would have told you that?
Gramps?
Grandpa.
Gramps told me that.
That's bullshit.
You don't think he ever wanted to, you know, see her buried under the jail?
Maybe not buried, but she should be put in jail because people that steal money and embezzle and forge checks, you know where they usually go? It's a place called jail, Vic. And a lot of people, when they're really ticked off because they've been screwed or someone that they love has been screwed, they say, that person should be put under the jail. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. And then they get, I read one of those letters about how this poor little orphan Sherry was, or poor little lupus girl. Yeah, well, he wouldn't talk to Shaq like that or some damn thing. It was the most absurd thing I'd ever read in my life.
Well, see, for you
sounded
and
like someone that was totally irrational and on drugs.
For you and Grandpa and Isaiah, you know, so was Isaiah, why did he say Sherry was adulterous? For three great big...
I don't know that he did. I would doubt that he did. Because
well, he did.
Well, he never threw me up against the car and said, Uncle Craig, you ever talk to me like that? You know, some of this stuff, half the stuff I hear are lies, so that I don't, you know, why would they say this or that? I don't know that they did, Vic, you know what I'm saying?
Well, see, that's
I don't know that they do.
That's how
I know my wife lies because she's lied to every employee in my store. I've got, for some reason, Donna Dickens doesn't want to come as a witness to her. She didn't show up in court.
Donna Dickens doesn't want to have anything to do with you.
Two of my employees have been with me for 7 years are there. You know what I'm saying? Two of them are there because they know about this stuff, Vic. And
Craig,
if I'm such a horse's ass, why aren't they running to Sherry?
You can live your...
Why did they show up in court with Craig? I wonder. And then I've only got two of them that have been there that long. I got Sherdina that's been there for 7 years. I got Lucy 6 years, and Pam was, excuse me, I had three. Pam's been there for 2.5 years. So why would they be there and her witness not being there? No witness was there except her mother, who was going to spit vile lies about me. And but I wasn't worried about that because if you lay enough of this stuff paper out that's proven, that's not hearsay, then the judge, I think, will say, gosh, this woman ain't quite right. You know, she doesn't know how to handle money. She doesn't pay her bills, either when she lives with Craig or away from Craig, and if she says that she did this, or didn't do this, and then they keep bringing this stuff up and showing him the paper on it, with her signatures on it and whatnot, then he's going to finally say, gosh, this woman just ain't right, you know? This man's probably telling the truth, and she probably is lying. You know, she's lied about these other 40, 50 things, and she probably is lying about these other 5 things.
The reason...
In the divorce papers, she's got me accused of tampering with my brakes on my truck. Now, that's a little bit asinine in it. Here's a woman that's very small and poor little lupus girl, and I would accuse her of tampering with my brakes on my truck?
I heard you accuse...
Is that a little bit absurd to you, Vic?
I heard you...
Does that seem a bit absurd to you?
I heard you accused her of doing that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I accused her of tampering with the brakes on my car. That's what... my truck.
You charged her with attempted murder.
Yes, I did.
Well, see, Craig, I don't want my kids sounding like this when I talk to them in 20 years.
Well, I don't want to talk to people that have had all their children leave home for what reasons exactly, I don't even know. You know what I'm saying?
I think they're like you.
Oh, well, but 2 years ago I was invited to your house to spend 4th of July, and then the only correspondence I've had with you since, which you must believe everybody you talk to, and you must have talked to everybody about me so that you know pretty much how I am now, except by not talking to me. So they probably are about like me.
They're exactly like you. That's how you got to be like you. I can't tell you apart from Gramps, and now I can't tell...
I can't tell you apart from any person that I used to know as Victoria Johnson. I don't, because you are totally someone that it's like someone that got brainwashed and turned into something completely different from whatever I ever knew. Someone that
I guess so.
Going and riding out horses and having their girlfriends over and going rafting on the river.
I still do that.
It turned into someone completely different that I don't really even know.
Do you know?
It's so different that I can't even comprehend it, you know? I have a hard time comprehending it.
I still ride horses, and I still raft the river. And there was a time that grandmother, when people said bad things about Jehovah's Witnesses, grandmother would say, they only seek the good. And everything good...
There's a whole lot of people in this town, if they said, what would be the worst thing that would irritate you on a Saturday or Sunday morning, and they'd probably say Jehovah's coming and knocking on my door. They say the second person would probably be someone that's trying to sell me a vacuum cleaner or liquid orange gold cleaning solvent.
Right. Well, I accept that, you know. But you know what? Some people...
No, I don't accept it. You know, I don't accept people barging in on my private, personal time.
They came in the door, eh?
Oh, yeah.
They just busted through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, do you know, Craig, all you got to do is say go away or close the door.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
But, you know, some people came to my door and they talked about the Bible, and I'm glad they did. And I know a bunch of people that are glad that somebody told them that the earth wasn't always going to be a place where people hurt one another, where there wasn't going to be any crying or sighing or dying. And but people are individual. It's not for everyone. But there is such a thing as civil liberties. You do have the right to raise a family without fear of threat or intimidation, without people breaking in your house at night, without people giving your children credit cards to run away from home. It's not against the law to be Baptist.
All right, what was it now?
And send your child to a Baptist university and encourage them not to drink. There's nothing wrong with somebody sending their child to Harding University.
I don't care if they send them to a Catholic university or Baptist university or whatever university, whether we got, that's what people... That's why I live. That's what's great about the United States. People can go to any school they want to. They can worship any god they want to, and they've got lots of liberties and freedoms. Right,
but people do not, because they don't like your religion, have the right to start hurling insults and try to alienate your children and finance that. And they don't have the right to lie to you.
Nobody has. I don't think anybody.
Oh, well, let's ask this question. You talk about backstabbing. I hear that you heard. Let's see if you heard this or not.
You hear that I heard.
Oh, I hear, because the person told me they told you.
Well,
I heard that Isaiah Hoggett and Micah, like a Technicolor movie, told you that Eric, what kind of person Did you know Eric to be a real mean, nasty fellow? Or did you think he was an extraordinarily gentle, kind fellow?
I don't know Eric that well, to be honest with you. He's never done anything to upset me except to talk to me and not let me put a word in edgewise and then hang up on me.
Yeah, well, he was rather upset about the whole thing. So anyway, I heard that you heard that Eric Hoggett, my husband, picked up Isaac, that, let's see, that supposedly Eric and I, who have never contemplated getting a divorce, we've never been, we've never sued anybody, and no one's ever sued us. Isn't that odd? We just, when I say a dull life, we like a peaceful life. Even the girl who stole from us paid us back $23,000. Which happened to pay our...
She would if she was going to go to jail. Most people would.
Yeah, see, there's the key, Craig, accountability. That's why the Texas Code says that they recognize that minors, unsupervised, will do things damaging to themselves and to society. And that's what's wrong. These kids need supervision. They need a mom and a dad that love them. And it's not against the law in America for parents to try to encourage their children to say they're sorry when they're wrong, to be kind.
No, you should be kind and say you're sorry when you should say you're sorry.
That's right.
That's true.
Right.
I don't think we need to dwell into that for a long time, but I will say this. And
what do you think about Jehovah?
I have thought about all of it. You tell me how that you put all this love and whatnot in it, and now you're telling me that the only reason these wayward boys have become wayward is because of Grandpa, and that's bullshit. That's something else. There's something else that's going on in the family. People don't just talk. They never had that much correspondence with their grandfather. So that seems a little bit asinine right there. You don't say, well, we raised these boys, and all of a sudden their grandpa called them up and spent about 10 minutes with them on the phone and wild hellions on them, and they just left our house. That ain't so.
No, it's not.
Else there.
You're right. It was
You're
about...
exactly right. It ain't Grandpa's fault. It ain't Grandmother Dot's fault. It's not my fault. It's not Ted's fault. It's not the employees at my store's fault. It's not Sherry Johnson's fault. It's some internal problems in your own family there. No matter how great and swell you think it is, there's something in there. If 3 boys leave, you can't blame all that on people in the outside.
No.
Jehovah's Witnesses.
No, you can't.
No, you can't.
No. The judge at the Noah's little hearing...
And so if those problems are going on, you need to solve them, and then the boys don't go to Millsaps, or they don't go to Alvin, Texas, or they don't go to Wisner, Louisiana. They stay at home.
Well, the judge said at the hearing, he said, it's obvious that things went very well with these kids and that they had an extraordinary training until they were about...
Why is Noah living in Louisiana, if that's what the judge thinks?
Well, I'm going to tell you.
If that's what the judge thinks, why is Noah living with his grandfather in Louisiana?
Because his grandfather hates the fact that we're Jehovah's Witnesses. He hates
that. And so that persuaded the judge.
No.
And so the judge said, okay, I think you should go live in Wisner, Louisiana, and I think you should go live in Alvin, Texas, and I think you should just stay at this school in Jackson, Mississippi. No. It's been going on for practically our whole life, but the last 6 years it got just unbearable. Well, then we need to figure out what to do about it, don't we?
Yeah, we do. And do you know?
No, but the worst thing you can do to alleviate this is to call your mother and raise hell and tell her what a sorry woman she is, and call. This is another question I got for you here. You're talking about people. That's not how you get anything figured. This is one thing that upsets me, and I want to know if this is true, because I've heard it from about 3 different people. I've heard... Oh, wait, you didn't answer. You had stick the law on Wilton's wife and for some sort of investigation on something that her brother or something did and made their lives totally miserable. Someone that is not even very just outside related to you, and you're trying to stick the law on them, and I've got a feeling that hurt that poor old woman so bad, that's probably what killed her. You know? And I would not be too proud of that. I think that is bad. And you don't do it by calling people and telling them about how horrible they are, and that's why all this bad stuff has happened.
No.
And this is how I'm going to do it. You listen to people, and you talk to them, and you don't read them Bible scriptures. You just sit down and you talk to them. But you don't call them up and rant and rave at them.
I didn't call Grandmother and
You don't get anything accomplished that way. And you don't write 12-page letters saying how people have abused you and the kids and whatnot. You call them up and you just talk rationally with them. If all you do is talk and you don't ever listen, then it'll always be the same and it'll never change. It'll never change.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really. It'll never change. It'll never change. If you call someone up and read them off Bible scriptures by the hour and then tell them how horrible they are, how does that get anything accomplished?
Did I
get anything accomplished?
Did I tell you a Bible scripture, Craig?
No, I don't want to hear any Bible scripture.
Well, I know you don't. I don't want to tell you any. I don't have any obligation to tell you any.
Well, you normally feel like you do.
But you just told me that that I sicked the law on...
That's what both Grandma and Grandpa have told me. That's exactly right.
How could I... What was she supposed to have done that I would somehow... Did I make something up?
They said it wasn't even her. They said it was a brother of hers who's... Isaiah's told about kind of always been the black sheep of the family and was hiding in Mexico or something, and you would stick the law on all May sisters and her to say that she was covering him up or something like this and sending them money or some damn thing. I don't know.
Would there be anything wrong with that?
Yes, there would be something very wrong with that. There'd be something very bad, mentally disturbingly wrong about that.
I mean,
Number one, it's none of your business. Number two, the old woman has nothing to do with any of this, I'm sure. And number three is that there's no point to it. There's no point to it. It's upsetting people.
I'm saying, would it be wrong to aid and abet a child molester?
Aid and abet. I don't think that you know that they do, and I would bet money that they never did. It's very little. I've only met the people about 2 or 3 times, but I would bet that they don't aid and abet child molesters even more than I'm a child molester myself. That's what I would say, Vic.
Well, I guess...
That's exactly what I would say.
Well, then...
Or just like that Isaiah threw me up against a car threatening me, I would say that is as much the truth as that is. That's what I would say.
So back to the through the plate glass window. Did you hear that story?
Yes, I did hear that story. That's what the story I heard right before that Isaiah went to pick up Micah. They said that Eric had thrown him through a plate glass, sliding glass, or some sort of big window, and they had a bunch of stories. I don't even know if those are true. I have no earthly idea whether they are true. But if you don't know if something's not true, you don't spread it out, and you don't spread lies, and you don't spread half-truths. You don't spread half-truths. If you don't know, I don't know that he's ever thrown through a window. I was told he was. Yes, I did hear that story. I did not know it because I was not there, so I don't know. I never saw the boy physically thrown through a window, you know? I was told that he was, but I don't know if it's true.
Well, let me ask you this.
But I could be on the other side of the coin. I don't know why someone would make up these stories, but...
It's called lying. Lying, Craig. It's the same thing as denial. It's called lying. It's a pattern of behavior where you completely deny the harm of your behavior on other people. It's called lying, and it is a pattern, and it is a pattern.
I know what lying is. You don't have to tell me about lying. I've got a wife that is a perpetual liar and a habitual liar. So you don't have to tell me about lying. I know all about lying. I think most people understand that, Vic. So we don't need to spend 5 minutes talking about what lying is, you know?
No. You know, some people think that if you're lied about, you know, real bad.
How have I upset you so much? Besides giving a credit card to Isaiah to get a boy a room, I would think if a boy needs a room and there's no way to contact his parents, there's nothing wrong with giving someone a room if he doesn't have a room. If he's out in the cold by himself, he needs a damn room. I don't see anything bad about that.
What if he's not out in the cold by himself?
Well, then why would they call? Why would he call?
Because he said he was...
Why would he call Doe Run and say, I'm out in the cold, We've had this big argument. I've been put out on the street, told, here's a quarter, call your brother Isaiah. Why would they do that, and why would things all of a sudden be changed around then? I don't understand.
Oh, they weren't all of the
sudden. In other words,
sudden.
you're just driving down the road. Let's take this down. You're driving down the road. You stop at the gas station. All of a sudden, Noah says, I think I'll just call my brother Isaiah, because I think he's up in Doe Run, and see if he'll come get me. Is that what the deal is? And you
No,
were
not at all.
right beside him, Vic. Is this true? I don't know what happened. All I know is whatever I was told.
Uh-huh. Well,
and then
let me ask you.
One went to court, and then Noah goes down to Louisiana with his grandparents. I do know that that's all I know. I know those two things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's there all right, and he's, getting arrested and getting drunk just like Isaiah did.
He may be doing that, but there's got to be a reason the judge sent him to his grandparents instead of his maternal mother and father, I would say.
There is.
Yes, there is.
You know what? All those letters, and
I don't think that a 16-year-old boy would have precedence over what adults would tell the man.
It's
so
very...
I don't really understand all this, but I don't think that it was something that Grandpa did. I think that something is wrong in your family, internally.
Oh.
And which is everybody, but I would, and I've got my own problems, but I don't blame them on other people. I don't blame them on Grandpa. I don't blame them on you. I don't blame them on Ted. I don't blame them on anyone but myself. I blame some of them on Sherry because...
What about Mia and Nancy? Do you blame that on them?
No, I don't. I have a good relationship with Mia and Nancy. Mia calls me about once every 2 months. We talk about Lucas. Nancy calls me about 4 times a year.
Well, see, Craig, I don't want...
CB, what's going on? We sit down and we talk.
Well, I don't want my kids to have 3 wives that they sit down and have, they might be...
Good, but you have no control over that, Vic.
No, I don't.
You do. So what are you going to do? So what's the need of harping on it? You don't want your kids to have 3 wives, but there's no way you're going to... What are you going to do? Go live with them and say, no, honey, you're not even going to get married because you might get a divorce or something. Or, no, I don't want this. You can't change. You can't do anything about it, Vic.
No, but most people raise their...
You can't do anything about that.
No, and we can't do anything about whether Noah...
3 wives or 12 wives. You can't say, I don't want my... You can say, I don't want my son to do that, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be so. You know what I'm saying?
No, but you can't... You can raise them in a stable...
The thing about it is now, that it's past that point almost now, I feel like. The boys are, in college, and they're going to be considered, one of them is considered an adult now, the other 2 will be shortly. So what in the hell are you going to do besides bitch about it? I don't want this to happen, but there's a whole lot of, no matter what you want them to do, it's not necessarily going to be what they want to do. If you want them to be a Jehovah's Witness, doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be one.
No, that you have to choose.
If you want them to be a lawyer, doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be one.
No.
Or if you don't want them to be a lawyer, doesn't necessarily mean they're not going to be one. So what difference does it make, Vic?
Well, see, it doesn't.
As long as they're good, honest, they're not bad boys, and Grandpa couldn't make them bad boys overnight, So I don't really see what all the harass and harangue is. It just seems like, and it doesn't bother me as much as the one person that bothers me about the worst is my mother. It tears her up. And she gets railed at and railed at and railed at. There's no need of doing that, there's no need of doing that.
I didn't call her to rail at her. She called me...
I'm talking about you railing against her. I'm not talking about they.
No.
I'm talking about you, Victoria Jean Hoggett. That's who I'm talking about. That bothers me. When you make my mother upset, that bothers me.
Well, you know what happened when she said...
My father, it doesn't... I don't think it bothers him a bit.
Yeah. Well, Craig, everybody, they get real bothered. My mother, what she was so bothered about is we were on our way down here, and unfortunately, she called me at exactly about an hour after I talked to Noah. Mm-hmm. And it distresses me no end that I had kids that stood up to peer pressure. I had kids that people made fun of because they didn't smoke or have oral sex or stuff like that. They made fun of them. But my kids held their ground, and I was proud of those kids. When Ethan graduated from high school, I was the proudest mother there because I said that kid cut through high school with integrity and love, and he was considered honorable, and he held his ground as a Christian. And it really, really You know, everybody...
So you took it out on your mother,
no.
right? Because your life, it wasn't just like you liked it. You took it out on Grandmother Dot.
No, Grandmother...
You railed against her and told her what a horrible person she was. Not only what a horrible person she was, but then when you finished with that, you had to tell her how horrible her husband was. And then, I would imagine... that by now, that you had to tell her what a horrible person I am.
I'll tell you exactly.
And how the three of us have destroyed your life and your family and made the world a horrible place to live.
No, I like the world, actually. I think people are generally pretty lovely. But anyway, my mother called me up on my cell phone, and I had just talked to Noah, and I told her, I said, she called to thank me for sending her a sweater from the Cracker Barrel. But anyway, unfortunately, I had just talked to Noah, and talk about tearing people up, to work that hard to raise kids to be moral. And then I said, Mother, you know, you and Daddy set out real hard. I never did anything but throw your 50th wedding anniversary, teach those kids to write you, visit you, love you, honor you, say yes, sir, to you, help you when they could. And then in return for that, you set out to prove that they didn't need to be like Eric and I, and that you succeeded. They are not anything like they are.
That's bullshit. That's pure deep bullshit. My mother and father never tried to set out to make sure that those children were not like you and Eric. That is bull. That is, they don't believe in Jehovah's Witness, just like you don't believe in the way they live, but they let you live your life the way you wanted to. But you are dead set against not letting them live their life like they've always lived it.
No,
like they've always lived it. And you're the one that changed. They haven't changed. They haven't changed. They're the same they've always been. They have the same values, the same morals that they've always had in their lifetime, and they haven't changed.
I agree with that.
They have not changed.
I agree they haven't changed.
And I'm sure that it does upset them to have a daughter that says, no, we're not, all of a sudden now we can't come to Christmas because that's for heathens, and we can't come for Thanksgiving because that's what heathens do. We won't celebrate your birthday anymore because that's what heathens do. I don't understand why you would consider a 50th anniversary worth celebrating then. It makes no sense.
Strangely enough, the last Thanksgiving they were in Sardis, we were there. Were you?
I don't know if I was or not, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't keep a calendar on events that happened 5 and 10, 20 years ago.
You know, you're exactly right, Craig.
But for some reason, you dwell on these things because you remember things that happened in 1971, 1966.
No, they're happening today. They're happening today that Noah is... Well, back to how horrible it was that Eric would tell the FBI what he knew about his parents' involvement. Do you think that's wrong?
Yes, I do. I think that's backstabbing. I do.
Even if it's true.
Why'd he go down there for his mother's funeral? Huh?
Because he loved his mother, Craig.
Loved her enough to have the FBI sticked on her. That's
no,
true love,
he didn't stick the FBI on her. The FBI had been coming by there for years.
Yeah, but you helped him out on it, didn't you? You gave him a little fodder to feed on. It sounded like. Would it
be correct? Would it be immoral?
I do believe this. This isn't the word I get. I don't even get the word that Eric did it. I get the word that you did it. Is that true or is it not true?
They had been coming by for years, but yes, we did tell them what we knew.
Yes, it wasn't Eric, it was you.
No.
You knew about the FBI coming by Wilton and Mamie's house for years, right? But
hey, Craig.
You were there all the time. Mamie and Wilton did not. You went and visited them and spent the night in their house and ate their food, but you felt like you had to stick the FBI on them. Is that correct?
No.
That was just the thing to do.
Hey, Craig, did you know the little girl tried to kill herself that was molested?
Did you know that Donna Dickens' boyfriend committed suicide? I said, when someone told me that, I said, well, he must have been doing his damn book work. Oh, Craig, that's a horrible thing to say. I said, I don't give a damn. It's probably true.
Well, see,
probably in so damn much debt that he figured he'd never get out.
See, I want my kids to give a damn, Craig. They used to love people.
Just like me, right? They're getting to be like their Uncle Craig. They don't give a damn, right? You don't want someone that goes to work and works 12 hours a day and does $500,000 a year in sales, and the people that come and say, Craig, if you were the full price cleaner in town, you got the best prices in town, I'd come to you anyway. You don't care. You don't want them to be like that, right?
I
You
don't.
want to be like Sherry Johnson, right?
I don't know Sherry Johnson,
No,
Craig.
you must know her a little bit. You get her behind my back to go to Natchez, Mississippi. Of course, she never showed back up because the trial, they postponed it like all these people normally do about 4 or 5 times. But
the judge had the flu.
Judge had the flu. So why didn't she come on back?
Do you know why? Because the youth court workers told her they didn't want to hear anything bad. They didn't want to hear about Isaiah throwing up. They didn't want to hear about Isaiah speeding. They didn't want to hear about the terrible effect.
They want to hear about it.
No, they didn't want to hear about it.
Well, they just don't care, right?
No, that's just what you asked, why didn't she come back? They said...
You want to hear about all that, how bad Grandpa was and how bad all the other relatives were but yourself, right? Is that correct?
She didn't come to tell about me. She doesn't know me either. She just knows about who Chuck...
She talked about me, didn't she?
No.
She didn't?
They didn't care about you, Craig. What we were trying to do...
Grandpa, huh?
No, I was trying to protect my children from that influence. I don't want them...
Well, what have you done not to get them to have that influence then? Something's not working, is it then?
Well, the judge said...
What are we going to do? What are we going to do? It's late for that now almost, isn't it? I mean, hell, they're almost grown men, aren't they? One's going to Tulane next year. The other one's going to graduate from Millsaps College this year. And the other one's shortly behind him, in between, right? So what are you going to do, Vic? Are you still setting out to save them as adults now?
Well, I do love my kids, and I don't want them to turn out drunk or divorced.
I'll tell you this. This is what upsets your kids. This upsets your kids to have you blame Grandma and Grandpa and everybody else in this world for them not living wherever you're living, whether it be Tyler, Texas, or New York, or Oxford, Mississippi.
So should I?
They don't like that one little bit.
No. So should I just say?
That's right either.
If people come in my house at night and get my children, if they give them money, if they tell them I'll buy you a car, and then they do, I should just say, fine, here, I've got another one at home. Maybe you can set a trust fund.
It seems like you took a car and a couple trucks from Granddad, if I remember correctly. I remember seeing a Dodge parked out there. I remember seeing a Chevrolet parked out there that Grandpa gave, which was practically new. And yes, it got wrecked. I think one of the boys wrecked it, but still, that didn't seem to bother you at the time. Did it? And didn't seem to bother you when Grandpa... This is another thing that Grandpa told me is why he made me custodian of these kids. He said he had made you custodian of them, and you took the money, their mutual funds out and put it in bonds, and then after a while it was gone.
Oh, he did?
Yes, he did.
It's gone.
That's not true?
No.
And you didn't take their money out of mutual funds and put it in some sort of bonds or something and then cash them in?
No, I did not.
They got lots more money, and you send that to them because you don't want Grandpa to be putting them through
Wait
school.
a minute.
You're just saying put them through school, so then you say, well, hell, that'd still be Grandpa's money, though, anyway, no matter which way you went on it, I guess.
You're saying that the reason I put their money in bonds, it was $10,000 when he journaled it from Schwab. By the time it got to their accounts in Schwab, it was worth $8,200. It had fallen that much, and I said if it ever got back to $10,000, I was going to put it in an...
Why didn't you put it in a CD? It'd probably draw 3% right now on that, or maybe...
Because it was 6 1/4 at the time. That was the best investment grade bond there was. And no, I did not spend their money.
If you ever read anything about financial history, like one of Charles Schwab's books, you'd probably see that even during the Depression, when it went down, if you'd had money 5 years before then and 5 years after that, you'd made a pretty good chunk of money. It's a pretty proven fact, as long as they're in fairly blue chip stocks, mutual funds, that they're going to make more money than putting them in a CD or bonds. It's a proven fact. It's an absolute proven fact. And that really upset Granddad.
Yeah, well, it isn't that...
He thought that was irresponsible.
That I put them in bonds.
Well, he said you put them in bonds, and then he was under the impression that there probably wasn't anything in bonds anymore. Is there?
Well,
yes
Isaiah...
Yes or no? Just a simple yes or no. Do those boys have any money in bonds? Huh?
Hush. Isaiah called about 3 months ago and got the rest of his money. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know. I didn't figure there was any money left from what I'd heard.
Yes, and we told him it was not a good time because Noah wanted to put his in tech stocks, which did very well for a while, and then and made him a bunch of money. But then, you know, as you know, it went bust. So Intel and stuff is not.
Know.
Yeah. So
I
anyway.
had $500,000 in there, and Sherry She doesn't check anything. But she thinks there's actually a lot of money still in, when we went to the interrogatory, she said there's about $500,000 in it. Hell, there's less than, it's barely 200,000. That's how much she knows about anything.
Okay, well,
she knows how to spend it, but she doesn't know anything about paying anything off or being responsible. But she's going to have a rude awakening when she gets to that, because there ain't going to be that much there. And she wouldn't leave it there for 10 years like most people do that have got any sense to not be playing the stock market, but to put your money in something for a long-term investment. And so it'll be pissed off within a year after she has it, I'm sure, anyway.
The
but
thing,
I don't give a damn.
Yeah. Well, yeah. See, I do care. Like, if Isaiah came to a hearing...
in a way that I think that's horrible and irresponsible, but that's not going to keep it from happening, Vic. So that's what you need to wake up to.
No.
There's not going to be a whole lot you can do except complain and gripe about it. But if you talk to them in a more sensible way, I think, besides reading the Bible scriptures, that they'd probably listen to you. But I think if you write them notes quoting the Bible for 7 pages, that they either won't read it or they'll make a mockery of it and pass it around. People say, look at this letter, Uncle Craig. Can you believe this? You know, I think that's the way it'll be, and it'll never get any better. It'll just get worse.
I don't write them any.
Accomplish anything.
I don't write them any 7-page letters with Bible scriptures.
Most of them came here while Isaiah worked here that summer, so I know that that's not entirely true.
Well, I did write him almost every day after he left for a long time. Is there something wrong with that?
There is, depending on how you put it. You kind of put it like he was just a total worthless pile of shit.
No, that's what you people say about religion. You know what?
I'm not saying that about religion, Vic. I'm talking about the way it was presented in the letter.
No, yeah, right, exactly. You're exactly right on that. You know, Craig, when you talked about grandfather being exactly the same way he always was, it wasn't until he pulled that thing with Noah that I looked back on my life and realized that that was true. That, you know, all of, like, for example, did you ever, I was told.
Well, it was so bad, how come you didn't leave home at age 12 or 14 and go and make a life of your own or something? No, and looking back on things now, I can see what happened. I don't believe in that kind of crap.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you.
If you're just now figuring it out after 40 or 50 years, then you've waited, something ain't right.
No, because children believe what they were told. I'll give you an example. You know, Aunt Lola, being Southern Baptist, she gave me a Bible when I was 7, and she said to read it. Okay, and this is how they get their little religion. Conspiracy case.
Police officer Dottie.
Hi, this is Victoria Hoggett. I am an attorney in Tyler, Texas, and I need to speak with Chief Huff, please, about release.
Okay, let me see if he's in. Hold just
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Hello?
Good morning, Chief Huff.
Uh-huh.
Hi, this is Victoria Hoggett. I'm an attorney in Tyler, Texas, and I'm also a mom, and I was requesting an arrest report or whatever is filed. We had a son in Natchez that was running away from home or from custody of his parents, and Judge Hudson had us file ungovernable behavior charges against him to keep his relatives from coming to pick him up. And so the youth court said that I have to, or Manfred Eidt said, and Judge Hudson, I talked to both of them, said I would have to get the original report to the police from the Natchez Police Department, even though they have a copy of it. And so I have a case number, but the lady in records said that that would have to be cleared by you. He's not a juvenile anymore. He's 18, but he was 16 at the time.
What's his name?
Warren Noah Hoggett, and I have the case number too.
How do you spell it, Hoggett?
H-O-G-G-A-T-T.
Did we arrest him?
I don't know if that's called an arrest. Like I said, in the middle of the night, Judge Hudson told us if we wanted to be able to keep the relatives from picking him up, that we had to go down the next morning and file an ungovernable child report with the police department, so that would bring him under the jurisdiction of the youth court, so that he could issue a bench warrant if the child's relatives came to pick him up. So excuse me?
Are you the mother?
Yes, I'm the mother of the child.
Okay, well, what's the case number?
200025804. And it was August 20th, 2000.
Let's see what we got here. That on August the 20th, we got the report at 3:41 in the morning. Does that sound right?
The first, when we first called the police, that probably would have been right. Is that in the middle of the night? 3:41 in the... Mm-hmm.
Noah Hoggett.
Right, and then there was a... Yes, sir. And then the next day we went down like they told us to and filed the charges. And so what I need is the original arrest, report, and also I need the thing that was presented about what all things he did that would show that he was ungovernable, that was on the original thing. And I need both a fax, because I need this immediately if possible, and I also need a hard copy because it's going to be photocopied, and the fax won't do very pretty. Is that possible?
I'm reading the report. I don't see where we arrested him. Now, y'all made a report where you had a problem in a motel with him?
Right,
Okay. You can have that report, but I don't see what... Are you saying we arrested him?
I don't know if it's called an arrest or not. What is it, an arrest for an... I know that Judge Hudson said the next day, that was in the middle of the night when we called the police, Judge Hudson said the next day we should go down and file this ungovernable child report, and that's what I need a copy of also. And we filed that at the police department, and I know there is a statement that says what all he was charged with, because in the youth court they submitted that to him, and then they said, no, are you guilty of this? And he said yes. So where would an ungovernable child report be? It listed that he threatened to hit his brother and he wouldn't come back to the hotel room. And
I'm reading that report.
Okay.
I'm reading that. And it says Eric and his wife Victoria first requested aid of Natchez Police Department at 3:41 this morning and was contacted by Sergeant Tom McGee. Sergeant McGee supplied a written statement of what happened. See attached copy to me, whatever Officer J. Steele. Sergeant McGee, he contacted Judge Hudson and advised the Hoggett to file this report and sign a petition against Noah. I contacted Eric at Natchez PD and he signed a petition against Noah. He said Noah's 16 years old. And when he was told this morning to stay at the Days Inn, room 112 by Eric, Noah refused. Eric said Noah's grandfather, who is in Virginia, arranged for credit cards in order to have a separate room. Eric said he did not approve. Eric said Noah was verbally abusive to him, threatened to run away, and when Noah tried to leave the room, Noah's little brother stepped in his path and asked him not to. Victoria said Noah told his brother he would not hit his dad, but he would hit him. Eric's worried that Noah's two older brothers may arrive and take Noah away, so Eric requested NPD keep an eye on the Days Inn motel. The request for detention was not signed by Eric because Noah has not yet made an attempt to flee.
Okay.
So probably what we did is we sent that petition that y'all signed and this paperwork to youth court. And did y'all have a hearing at youth court?
Yes, sir, we did, and he pled guilty to it.
Okay, and so what happened then?
Of all the strange things, he was delivered into the custody of the very relatives that Judge Hudson told us to bring the ungovernable child charge so we could protect him from those relatives getting their hands on him. So, but there at the youth court, there was a statement that was the thing that he pled guilty to that was different than what you just read me. Because it basically stated that, but it was what we signed the next day down at the Natchez City Police Department.
Ma'am, I'll get you a copy of that. I'll get you a copy of what we have if you give me your address.
Okie doke. It's Victoria Hoggett, Hoggett, okay. And it's 3819 Broadmoor Court, Tyler, Texas, 75707. And would it be possible, I do need a hard copy because that will be photocopied, but I also need a fax. If you can you also fax that to me?
Okay, what's the fax number?
Same thing as my phone number, which is 903-565-0169.
903-565-0169?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, I'll get them to pull. Let me look at whatever we got here. We faxed
fax it? Does your fax machine pick up automatically? We're going to
I'd appreciate if they could give me a call because I don't quite understand how to do the auto answer.
Right, okay.
Okay.
All right, we'll do that.
Okay, and do you have any idea where the thing that they actually... I saw it, so I know that it exists somewhere, but the thing that was filed with the police the next day was the thing they read to Noah and said, "Are you guilty of this, Noah?" And he said, "Yes." And that was the end of that.
Would that have been your statement?
Excuse me? Yeah, it would have
been your statement?
It would have been the statement that we filed with the police the next day that Judge Hudson told us to go down and file it formally with the police department.
Okay, in Mississippi, all you have to do is sign a petition, what they call a petition. The youth court then uses that to have him come to the youth court and start the proceedings for them. The petition does not have anything on it other than maybe the time it comes to court will have the verbiage or the narrative of what the charge is, the formal, whatever y'all, the prose, I guess what it is. The statement that y'all gave that night would probably have been attached to the petition along with the offense report.
Now,
that could very well be what they read.
Well, the thing that you just read, I think the thing that they read was the thing that we filed the next day because they asked us a bunch of questions. They typed something up, and I think that's what they read, and he pled guilty to.
Okay, well, let me look and see what we got. We'll fax you what we have.
Thank you.
You can make a determination if there's something else in existence. We'll see if we can find it.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Bye-bye.